ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
तो जयम् उदीरयेत्।
ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्।
शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण
शृण्वतां स्वता कृष्ण
श्रवणा कीर्तना
पुण्यश्रवणा कीर्तना
दिव्यान्तस्तो हि अभद्राणि
सज्जन्तोऽस्ति भद्राणि
विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम्।
विधोनोति सहृत्सतम्।
अष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय
कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय
स्वकीनन्दनाय च
फकीर्नन्दनाय च
गोपाकुमाराय
तदोगोपकुमाराय
गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
गोविन्दाय नमो नमः।
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः।
नमः।
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु
धन्यवाद।
नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर
गदाधर
श्रीवासादि
श्रीवासादि
गौर।
गौरभक्तवृंद।
हरे कृष्ण
हरे
कृष्ण
कृष्ण कृष्ण
कृष्ण
कृष्ण
हरे
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 हरे राम
हरे
राम
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 हरे
राम
हरे।
हरे हरे।
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So we covered two chapters so far. First two chapters of first canto. Uh, Now today we'll begin the third chapter. So before that, I lost my mouse. So we discussed all these. So in the first chapter, there are 6 important questions. Anybody remembers what are those 6 questions? What is the first question? While I bring this, it's here. The first question is, what is the highest good? What is the highest good for humanity?
Yes.
The highest good is to develop
Bhakti.
bhakti towards the absolute truth or the personality of Godhead. Second question is, what is the essence of all the scriptures? Right? What is the essence of all the scriptures?
To develop devotional service.
And to perform devotion service to the
Service.
Supreme Lord. Okay. What is the third question? What is the purpose
of Krishna's appearance?
Incarnation? Yeah, appearance. Krishna's appearance. Right? Why did Lord appear? Is it to annihilate the miscreants? Is that the reason? What is the reason why Lord appears?
To give protection to his devotees.
Yeah, mainly to give protection to the devotees.
Devotees.
Yeah, to reclaim the people in the mode of goodness. Okay, so mainly Lord, anytime Lord incarnates, the only purpose is to take us back to Godhead, to deliver us. That is the main purpose. Okay. After discussing that, what is the next question? Which incarnations? First, Purusha avatars. Because
Purusha
Purusha avatars are the incarnations that enable the creation process. Right? So once the creation is there, Lord again comes in the form of in various Leela avatars, performing various Leelas. So that is Leela avatars. Purusha avatars, Leela avatars, and then what is the final question? Where did religion take shelter after Lord Krishna's disappearance? Right? After Lord disappeared, where do we take shelter? What is the shelter for us? So that is discussed. So this is the summary of first chapter. Right? So these are the questions. So all the assembled sages inquired these questions from Suta Goswami because he's the eldest of all and is the wisest of all. And he also is coming in a Guru Parampara. So they want to hear answers to these questions. So the second chapter begins with the Suta Goswami paying obeisances to the assembled devotees, as well as who are all the people who he pays obeisances. Narayanam Namaskritam, that prayer, right? To Lord Narayana, Mother Saraswati, Vyasadeva, who is source of all the divine Vedic wisdom, and Naranarayan Rishi. So these are the personalities to whom first Suta Goswami pays obeisances, because that is how any spiritual endeavor begins. Before answering, he want to take blessings of these personalities. Mother Saraswati, Narayana, Lord Narayana, Naranarayan Rishi, Saraswati, Mother Saraswati,
Yes.
Vyasa, who is the incarnation of all the scriptures. Yeah. And then, after paying obeisances, he begins to answer. He appreciates the questions. Why he appreciates the questions? What is the reason why he should appreciate?
Because they are related to Krishna.
Because Krishna is the source of everything. The inquiries related to Krishna will benefit everybody. All the conditioned jivas. Everybody will benefit from these inquiries. So he appreciates those questions. And he answers the first set of questions. What is the ultimate good? What is the second question? What is the second question?
Essence of all scriptures.
Essence of all the scriptures.
That's
What is the answer to that in this chapter?
Practicing bhakti.
How it should be practiced? When we practice bhakti, when we perform bhakti to Lord, it has to have two important characteristics.
Continuous.
It should be unceased,
and unmotivated
And Apratihata.
incessantly, unstopped, continuous. It should not be like morning I chant and forget about it and go about the way I want in my life. It should be uninterrupted and no motivation, no selfish desire. It should not be, oh, I will pray because I will get this. No motivation and no interruption. That is how bhakti should be performed. This is the answer to the first set of questions. And then chapter further describes by saying anything a person performs in his life, all the duties that one performs, should ultimately result in him gaining attraction to hearing Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's glory. It should inspire. If it doesn't inspire, the purpose of any action one performs basically does not have any gain. So there is no gain if there is no attraction to Lord that is developed as part of his work. Correct? So that is described. Shrama eva hi kevalam. That sort of section is all about how everything should lead to bhakti. We discussed about the conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Raya. Right? And then Suta Goswami goes on to speak about how bhakti is developed in the heart of a conditioned jiva. Right? The bhakti begins with Satam Kripa. The beginning is there is some mercy of the devotee, right? And then there is some Shraddha. And then he performs some service. And then slowly Bhajana Kriya. Then he takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Right? Then Anardas will be cleansed. After that, he develops further. He becomes Nishtha, Asakti, Ruchi, Prema, Bhava and Prema. Right? So these are the stages. And then there are two other stages we discussed. One is darshanam,
Participating in the.
yeah, and then participating in the leelas, right? Darshanam, and I forgot the term for it.
Harer Madhyanubhava.
Harer Madhurya, right?
Anubhava.
Anubhava. Yeah, Harer Madhurya Anubhava. You experience the bliss of spiritual happiness in this life itself. Yeah. Thank you, bro. Yeah, Harer Madhurya Anubhava. Yeah. The 14 stages. Satam Kripa, Mahatseva, Shraddha, Gurupada Shreya, Nishtha, Anardha Nivritti. So this is described in that section. And then the final section of second chapter describes that one should worship only the Supreme Lord, nobody else, right? Neither the demigods, not even any other forms of, other expansions of the Supreme Lord. Mainly it is the Supreme Lord is to be worshipped. Describes about other forms, other more, Lord in the, as a mode of, in Lord taking the expansion of mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. And it says only Vishnu is to be worshipped, nobody else. Right? So that is the overall summary. Now we'll begin the third chapter. So the other question, the fourth question was, Krishna is the source of all kinds. Then the fourth question was Purusha Avataras. So that will be answered in this chapter.
ఏం చేసుకుంటావురా మండు?
I'll just note it. Okay, so so this chapter primarily has 6 sections. What are the roles of the Purusha Avataras? Right? Purusha Avataras are the source of all the incarnations and also material existence. What is the role they play? And the second section, this chapter is titled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. That will be confirmed towards the end. But before that, the creation itself begins with the Purusha Avatara. So that is described first. And in the second section, the various incarnations of the Lord, not in a chronological order, but the important key incarnations of the Lord were described. We are going to cover these 2 sections today. And then next week we'll cover how Lord is the, Krishna is the fountainhead of all the incarnations, right? Yeah. So we'll now continue to today's topic. Okay. He's bothering a little. Presentation view is.
No, you can drag it.
This is okay. Well, I mean, let's keep it this simple. Yeah, let's read. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Suta Uvacha
Sutta Uvacha.
Jagrihe Paurusham Rupam
Jagre Paurusham Rupam.
Bhagavan Mahadadibhihi
Bhagavan Mahadadivihi.
Sambhutam Sodashakalam
సంభూతం సోదసకారం
Adau Loka Sirsikshaya
Sisrikshaya.
Jagrihe Paurusham Rupam. So Paurusham means plenary portion of the Lord, the Supreme Lord. Jagrihe means accepted. Means these, just like for example, you say, I accepted this laptop. When you say accepted means laptop should already be there. Then only I say I accepted, right? So these Purushavatas are eternal. And Lord accepts these forms at the beginning of the creation. So these are eternal forms that exist. And Lord Bhagavan accepts these forms. Bhagavan Mahadadvihi, right? So Supreme Lord accepts for the purpose of creation, right? So translation, please read, anyone?
Sutta said, In the beginning of the creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus, at first, there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was for the purpose of creating the material universes.
So this is which Purusha incarnation? There are multiple Purusha incarnations. The first one,
Mahavishnu.
Mahavishnu or Karanarnava Vishnu or Karanodakshaya Vishnu. All these names are belong to this Vishnu. We'll discuss all the incarnations now. So this is the first incarnation. So this incarnation is the source of all the 16 principles. 16 principles are the 5 gross elements, 5 senses, right? And then 5 sense objects and mind. I think these are the 16 items considered as part of this. So he is the one who manifests all the ingredients. Lord Brahma is the chief engineer. He does not create anything. He only mixes things. But Lord is the one who manifests all these material elements, after the Purusha incarnation begins. And the procreation, the universes would form by the glance of the Supreme Lord. Right? So this particular Vishnu, Karanarnava Vishnu, he glances at the material energy, and that kind of impregnates material energy to actually further continue the creation process, right? Yeah. So please read this.
This creation and destruction is done by the supreme will because of the conditioned souls or the Nitya Baddha living beings. The Nitya Baddha or eternally conditioned souls have the sense of individuality or ahankara, which dictates them to sense enjoyment, which they are unable to have constitutionally. The Lord is the only enjoyer and all others are enjoyed. The living beings are predominated enjoyers, but the eternally conditioned souls, forgetful of this constitutional position, have strong aspirations to enjoy.
You can stop. Yeah. So the whole purpose of creation is to facilitate the Nitya Baddha Jivas who decide to stay away from the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world, right? So just like when a city is planned, there is also a jail planned so that people who do not obey the rules will be put in there, right? So similarly, it is just to facilitate the conditioned souls who are the Nitya Baddhas, who are rebellious against the Supreme Lord. So that is the whole purpose. The whole purpose of creation, all these Purusha avatars, all the incarnations, all the material existence, all the material elements, everything exists so that the conditioned jiva can facilitate his desires to enjoy independent of Lord and finally get frustrated and come back to him, right? So just like we always give the example of, suppose a mother has a child and the child wants to cook her food and eat by herself. So mother will not give real utensils or real food items, right? Ingredients. So instead she gives like some toy vessels, toy cook items. And the child would keep trying to cook and in various ways, and finally she'll realize that she cannot be happy by eating what she's cooking, and finally take shelter of mother, right? So that's the whole idea of this whole material existence, is all like a toy play for us. It's just a temporary arrangement so that we realize that we need to go back to God, right? So that is the whole purpose, right? Yeah. So this is the elements of Mahat Tattva, right? 16 parts. All these universes are collectively produced by the Karanodakshaya Vishnu, called also Mahavishnu, who by his glance impregnates the material sky. Okay. So Karanodakshaya Vishnu is done. Now next one. Yashyambhasi sayanasya sayanasya yoga nidram vitanvataha
Yoga Nidra Vidanvataha
nabhihridam bhujat asid
Abhirudam Vijadasa
brahma visva srijam patihi. Shayanasya, Yashyambhasi Shayanasya means who sleeps in the water. Right? Ambasi means water. Let's read this. Yeah, please read. Anyone online?
Yeah. A part of Purusha lies down within the water of the universe. From the navel leg of his body sprouts a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower atop this stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, become manifest.
And this is which incarnation? Which Purusha?
This is a Garbhodaksha.
So first, from the bodily pores of Mahavishnu, golden globules come out. It's like globules actually. So they come out when they start. They're very small, but very soon they expand. And after mixing with Mahatattva, the universe, in a egg-shaped universal forms, each of these universes would be placed in the material sky. And again, Lord now expands himself. The same Mahavishnu will expand into each of these universes in the form of Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and from his own perspiration, right? The water in the universe, the universe is half filled with his, his perspiration. So that water in which he lies in that water on the Shayana of Anantasesha, and from his navel sprouts a universal lotus. Okay, lotus stem, and on top of the lotus stem, on the top of the lotus flower, Brahma, the master of all engineers, is manifest. He is the first person to be born in the universe. Right? He is the chief engineer. Very clearly, it's mentioned. He is a chief engineer.
Brahma will be considered the son of the Lord.
Yeah, so he's directly the son of the Lord. Yeah, he's manifest, self-manifest actually by Lord himself, but he's the first personality. He's a jiva, so he manifests, and all these are all subtle. You cannot. It's not like a lotus flower that we see. It's all subtle in subtle form. Yeah. So within the stem of the lotus, there are 14 divisions of the planetary systems. There are 7 lower and 7 higher planetary systems, and Earth is the middle. Right? Earthly planets are in the middle. Upwards, there are other better planetary systems, and topmost system is called Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. Downwards from earthly planets, there are 7 lower planets inhabited by Asuras and similar other materialistic living beings. Yeah. So Garbhodaksha Vishnu is the Paramatma of the universe. Right? He is the ultimately when when any incarnation comes, it has to come through the via medium of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. He is the via medium for all the incarnations in the within the material world. I mean, actually, it comes through Kshirodaksha Vishnu, but because Kshirodaksha Vishnu is expansion of Garbhodaksha Vishnu, we can also say is the all the incarnations come from Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Therefore, the conclusion is that Purushavatara is manifested in 3 features: first, Karanaksha Vishnu; second, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who enters each universe; and then Kshirodaksha Vishnu, who is the Paramatma of every material object. Now, within the universe, now from the garbha of the Supreme Lord, from the stomach of the Supreme Lord, all the living entities manifest within the universe, and they are placed in the 14 planetary systems according to their karma. This happens after Brahma creates the facilities for living entities to live in various planetary systems, and every day he does that. because every end of the day there is a dissolution.
End of the day of Brahma.
End of the day of Brahma, every single day there is a dissolution. So he recreates in the morning again. Yeah, so that is the overall process, right?
Does that have any significance to the Brahma Muhurta, Prabhu? Is that anyway connected to the auspiciousness of doing anything in the morning times?
I am not sure, Prabhu, but I don't know 100%. Brahma Muhurta is is considered the best time, which is the morning, and where mode of goodness is predominant. Right, the first 8 hours of the day, within the first 8 hours of the day, the first 4 hours are considered the best, 4 to 5 hours. So that is considered as Brahma Muhurta, but I'm not very sure about how Brahma is related to Brahma Muhurta.
Right.
Yeah. So many people in the material. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
Sorry. Maybe you can answer this in the end later on. That's fine. The question was, if living entity stays in Garbhodakshay Vishnu while end of the Brahma's day, right? Does the living entity stays with the subtle body, or they stays with only the soul or maybe current body?
I think they give up the subtle body and again they'll get it back.
They get it back. Okay, so Brahma creates soul with the subtle body as well as the material body.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but the subtle body is specific to each individual. It might stay back actually. It might be that they go along with the subtle body. Yeah. I think actually they will continue to have the subtle body, because as long as they're in the material world, their karma is an account that holds on to them. So when they merge into Lord's body, they actually carry on their karma still, and they come back with that karma. So there was one question we asked it. Actually, this question came up. How is that Lord's body is spiritual, and how can these material elements enter into? The question that was asked. We asked my teacher that time. I remember. Yeah. So I mean, from Lord's perspective, everything is spiritual, right? So
yes. And Prabhu, same question. You don't have to answer, but same question is like, once the end of the day, Brahma's life, all the living entity will merge into the Karnodakshay Mahavishnu. So, and they will stay there for another 311 trillion years until the new universe manifests again. And then they will go back to the individual universes.
Correct. Yeah, it's the same process. Yes.
Same process.
Somebody is, I mean, most likely everybody will get liberated within a day of Brahma's time, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, but whoever does not, then they have to follow the process.
Because the is like repeatedly provided.
Got it. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Many in the modern thinkers say they accept nature as the source of everything, right? But nature is Prakriti. Is like a woman cannot produce a child without the connection of a Purusha or man, right? So material nature has no power, but many people cannot see the hand behind, right? The Supreme Lord's hand behind, how everything is manifested in the material world. The Purusha impregnates and the Prakriti delivers. We should not expect milk from the fleshy bags and the neck of a goat, although they look like breastly nipples. Similarly, we should not expect any creative power from the material ingredients alone, right? You must believe in the power of Purusha. Okay, let's read the third. So we are still in the Garbhodaksa Vishnu. Yashav Vayaya Samsthanai Kalpito Loka Vishrutara Vistaraha. Yeah. Tadvai Bhagavato Rupam
Tadvai Bhagavato Rupam
Shuddham Sattvam
Vishuddham Sattvamurjitam.
Visuddham Sattvam. Yeah, please read the translation.
It is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha, but he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence par excellence.
All the created all the created planetary systems is is considered to be on the body of the Purusha, this extensive Garbhodaksa Vishnu, right, who is lying within the Garbha ocean of the universe. So this is called Virat Rupa, Vishwarupa or Virat Rupa of the Absolute Truth. So if you read this, the conception of the Virat Rupa or Vishwarupa of the Absolute Truth is especially meant for the neophyte who can hardly think of the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord. Many people have very difficulty in accepting Krishna's form as the source of absolute truth. Why? Why they cannot conceive?
Because they can only see through the senses.
Correct, they can
They can
see,
only perceive
but their understanding of a person like you and me
material.
is material and it's limited, very limited. So they cannot, it's extremely difficult for most people to accept someone like Krishna as the absolute powerhouse, right? But they can easily understand Virat Rupa. Okay, yeah, because it's an expansive form. They can, yes, this universe exists. Yeah, we can see that mountains are like his head, or they can perceive such ideas, even though all encompassing universal form, right? So they can relate to it better than the Tribhanga form of the Supreme Lord. So this is like an initial idea for neophytes. They can start with this universal form to basically understand the transcendence of the Supreme Lord, and then slowly from there they can try to understand how Supreme Lord can also manifest. He is so powerful that he can manifest in a small form, can also and can encompass all the potencies that he has in his Virat form, right? So they will come to that understanding at a later point. To him, a form, neophyte, right? So to him, a form means something of this material world, and therefore an opposite conception of the absolute is necessary in the beginning to concentrate the mind on the power of the extension of the Lord. Right? So this is the only way. If Lord is so expansive, then they can accept that form as the Supreme Lord. As stated above, the Lord extends his potency in the form of Mahat Tattva, which includes all the material ingredients. The extension of the power by the Lord and the Lord himself personally are one in one sense. But at the same time, that Mahat Tattva is different from the Lord. Mahat Tattva is the energy of the Lord. Right? Achinta Beda Beda. Right? Lord and Lord's energies, they are simultaneously one and different. Yeah. You can say it is one, just like sunlight also you can say is sun, but it's also different, right? So that is our philosophy. Therefore, the potency of the Lord and the Lord are simultaneously different and non-different. The conception of the Virat Rupa, especially for the impersonalist, is thus non-different from the eternal form of the Lord. Is non-different from the eternal form of the Lord. This eternal form of the Lord exists prior to the creation of the Mahat Tattva, and it is stressed here that the eternal form of the Lord is par excellence, spiritual or transcendental to the modes of material nature. The very same transcendental form of the Lord is manifested by his internal potency, and the formation of his multifarious manifestations of incarnations is always of the same transcendental quality without any touch of Mahat Tattva. So all it is saying is Lord's forms are all transcendental in quality. It's never touched by Mahat Tattva. Yeah. So this is
Prabhu, a quick question.
Mhm.
How does the devotee look at the Virata Rupa?
Devotee does not focus on Virat Rupa. He tries to understand, but to just understand how Lord, because everything is coming from Lord, this Virat Rupa or temporary form, one can perceive it as the source of all the things that exist in the material world. Beyond that, we don't really worship, or we don't try to remember this form. It is just to show that everything is an expansion of the energy of the Supreme Lord. That's all. Okay. we
So
don't focus on that.
then the next question is, during the Kurukshetra war, Arjuna was still at a very neophyte stage. So only after seeing Virat Rupa, he could understand and appreciate the true potency of the Lord. Is that the way we understand it?
Because Arjuna is playing whose role? He's playing conditioned soul role there, right?
Hmm.
But the main purpose why Virat Rupa, what is the purpose why Virat Rupa was shown to Arjuna? So that nobody in the future can claim. You can ask anybody, can you show your Virat Rupa, right? Anybody. So Lord manifests certain pastimes just to show how he is in his pastime. He is so very different from any other conditioned soul, right? And also just to Krishna, Arjuna can say, Krishna, you are the Supreme Lord because you are my relative, maternal connected. No, we want to show to the world that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He's the source of all incarnations, and he's the he's the Virat Roop existing behind all this manifestation. So that is the reason he actually wanted. It's not only me. He also says that, right? He not only me, all the great sages also accept you as the Supreme Lord, right? And he, by showing this form, for once and all, Lord shows his position, right, as the Supreme Lord. So that was the purpose.
Right, Prabhu.
Pasyanti adho rupam adabhrachakshusha sahasrapador bhujanunadbhutam sahasramurdha sravanakshinasikam
Sahasramukta Saranachinachikam
sahasramauli ambara kundalolasat
Sahasramauli Ambara Kundala Lalasit.
Yes. Yeah. So this is Sahasra. It's like Purusha Sukta prayers, right? Purusha Sukta prayers, if you remember. Like, somewhere. Okay. I thought I captured somewhere. Yeah, in Wikipedia somewhere I wanted to show some prayers. Oh, I think this is all Bhagavad Gita class. That's why it is open here. Yesterday's. Yeah, so these are prayers to the absolute truth, right? So in this also, this is from Rigveda, but similar. This is actually Shruti, right? From Suti also the same description is that the Purusha has 1,000 heads, 1,000 eyes, and 1,000 feet. He has enveloped this world from all sides and has transcended it by 10 angulas or inches. Yeah. Om Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. Like that it goes, right? Sahasrakshas, Sahasrapat, Sabhumim Vishvato Vishpritva, Atyat, Atyatishtat, Dashangulam. So it's sung in a very nice meter. Yeah, it's very similar to this prayer. Yeah, let's read this. The meaning is similar. Yeah, please read. Anybody?
The devotees with their perfect eyes see the transcendental form of the Purusha, who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body, there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes, and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and glowing earrings and are adorned with garlands.
Very similar to what Lord showed to Arjuna, right? In Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So please read this from here. Yeah, from here. Yeah. In the material world.
In the material world also, we do not always see things with our own eyes. We sometimes see through the experience of those who have actually seen or done things. If that is the process for experiencing a mundane object, it is more perfectly applicable in matters transcendental. So only with patience and perseverance can we realize the transcendental subject matter regarding the absolute truth and his different forms. He is formless to neophytes, but his transcendental form to the expert servitor.
So two characteristics are mentioned here. One is patience and perseverance. So one should be very patient until one realizes this transcendental subject. Until then, one should keep the faith, and Lord, within a period of time, he will reveal us. Okay. Yeah. So just description of the Purusha avatars, basically this Garbhodaksa Vishnu only. We are still in Garbhodaksa Vishnu. So Lord is transcendental, and his particular, this Virat Purusha has this, one can see that he has his thighs, legs, arms, everywhere. Very extraordinary. Yeah?
Is there any such picture in the scriptures for us to relate with?
Virat Rupa, right? I think the best is the one that we see in Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna, shows his Virat Rupa, where he sees, so many faces. In some faces, the fire would be omitted. In some faces, the eyes are very red, anger, some are smiling. So all types of, emotional expressions will you see in that Virat form, the Supreme Lord. Right?
Right, bro. But I'm talking about those 1,000 heads, which is mentioned here. Is there any such pictures in the scriptures we have?
I mean, anybody depicted such picture?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't looked up yet. Maybe we need to look into that. Maybe some people have done that. I don't know if we have to find bona fide source for that. At least in Bhagavatam, it's not there. At least in our Bhagavatam, first canto, that picture is not given. No, only one universe. So Virat Rupa is per universe, and every universe will have its own Virat Rupa. Yeah. So Virat Rupa is a form within the universe, which is encompassing all the existence within the universe. Correct. Yeah. His eyes are sun. It's yeah. Sun and moon are the eyes, like that. Yeah.
So the Virat Rupa is same for all the universes.
No, every universe have its own Virat Rupa based on the size of the universe. There are universes which are 1,000 times bigger than our universe. Yeah. So It depends on the universe. Bhagavatam of every universe is also different.
Depends on the head of the Brahman.
Yeah.
In that case, even Virat Rupa will not give the picture of Deva Krishna.
Deva Krishna. No.
It only gives them like that this particular nature is also part of Krishna.
Correct. Yeah.
And
Basically, behind everything is Lord. That is what it tells.
but it doesn't give a picture of there are millions of millions
No.
of Mahavishnu and before by Vishnu there is Krishna.
No, because this is within the universe.
Mm.
Etananavataranam nidhanam bijam avyayam
Nidhanam bija abhyam
yasham samsena srijyate
yasham shanshena srujyate
devatiryam naradhayaha.
devatirya naradaya.
Yeah, please read.
This form, the second manifestation of Purusha, is the source and indestructible seed of multifarious incarnation within the universe. From the particles and portions of this form, different living entities like demigods, men, and others are created.
So just like in the Karanarna Vishnu, from his bodily pores, universes came. From the bodily pores of Garbhodaksa Vishnu, all the demigods, men, and others are created, right? So it's the second dimension. And into each atom, who enters? The same Lord enters as Kshirodaksa Vishnu. Yeah. So Garbhodaksa Vishnu is the ultimate head of this universe, right? If you have to call one person who is the head of everything, so him, it is him. Something happened. Yeah. Just 1 second. Can you see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Maybe it's not coming here.
We can see.
Yeah. Okay. Let's continue. So at this point, I'll show the. Can you all see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, sir.
This is the overall incarnations of the Supreme Lord. Okay. So the first.
Ji, can you show the presentation mode? I think now we see the next slide also. It will become smaller now.
Presentation mode only I am in.
Like some time back, how it was?
Maybe full screen, Prabhu.
Yeah,
Oh,
full screen.
It's too small to read.
1 second. Maybe I have. Is it better now?
It's blank.
Yes,
No.
Prabhuji. Can you go on the presentation mode?
In the presentation mode, it becomes like that.
Oh, like that? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So let's do like this. Maybe a little bit.
Zoom it, yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
1 second, and also I'll remove this light floating one. Yeah. Can you see now better? Is everything visible? Right. So
Yes, sir.
Not really, bro. If you can just zoom where you are going to start talking, then
Yeah.
we can understand. Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Okay. You see this now, right? In the leftmost higher.
Yes, bro.
Yes.
So Sri Krishna is the Supreme Lord. This is Bhagavatam describes all these Purusha avatars and everything, and how Krishna is the source of all. However, Lord Chaitanya very clearly clarifies this in Madhya Lila. So this is description based on Madhya Lila, and there is no other scripture which compares into how Brahma Samhita has this. However, that that correlation comes much clearly because because devotees use Madhya Leela in combination with Brahma Samhita, we could understand that better. Yeah, it is there.
Yeah.
It is there. It's all there.
Mm.
But if you read only Brahma Samhita, you won't get it without the help of Madhya Leela.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Sri Krishna is the Swayam Rupa. He is the original form of the Supreme Lord, as a cowboy boy in the Vrindavan. And his manifestations are of two types. One is Vaibhava Prakasha and Prabhava Prakasha. Okay. Prabhava means self-same Supreme Lord. Okay. For example, when Lord expands himself into, to play, with the gopis, right, in the rasa dance, when he expands himself into to be with each of the gopis to perform rasa dance, that is the self-same Supreme Lord. His Swayam Prakasha is that particular expansions are called Prabhava Prakashas. Or the other place where Lord expanded himself into, as one of the wives of all the 16,108 queens of Dwaraka. So those are self-same Supreme Lord, meaning the mood, emotion, and bodily color, everything is same, right, in those forms. So those are called Prabhava. Prabhava means self-same Supreme Lord. Self-same. Self-same means exact mood and also a color, everything is same. Those are called Prabhava incarnations. The Vaibhava Prakasha, which is an expansion of the Lord. Vaibhava means an expansion of the Lord, where Lord's bodily features and mood are different. Mood means now self-same is gone. So the mood is all servant only. From here, it's all incarnations are servants of the Supreme Lord. For example, Balarama is also an incarnation of Lord, but he is servant Supreme Lord. Right? He takes himself as, like, for example, Nityananda, he always treated himself as servant of Lord Chaitanya. So these are called Vaibhava Prakasha. Okay, Vaibhava Prakasha is an expansion with different moods and bodily features. Right? So from him comes various Vilash Rupas of the Supreme Lord. From Balarama, right, he is the source of all the expansions within the various Vaikuntha form. Vaikuntha, right? So in each Vaikuntha, there is a four-armed Vishnu. So all those come from, the Vaibhava Prakasha of the Supreme Lord, which is Balarama expands into all these Vilasha forms. Primarily, he expands into, again there are two, Prabhava and Vaibhava forms, right? There is a first four quadruple expansion of the Supreme Lord, right? Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So these are the four forms of Vishnu that comes from Balarama. It's called Chaturvyuha expansions of the Supreme Lord. And from the Vasudeva comes the Narayana form of the Lord. Narayana comes. And from that Narayana again, Shankarshana. From that, from the first four, from the Shankarshana of the first four, again, Narayana comes. From Narayana comes again the second Chaturvyuha. Yeah. So again, the same for Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha expand, right? From each of these four, again, 5 expansions come. Okay. So 4 into 5 is 20 plus the source 4, 24. Those are the 24 forms, making a total of 24 primary Vaibhava Vilasha. So these 24 forms are called Vaibhava Vilasha. Okay. Don't ask that. That detail is not even there. But they exist. That's what we accept. They accept Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha.
But they don't accept Krishna.
Some accept actually, yeah. But
He was from
they treat as equivalent to Narayana. Yeah. So they put it at Narayana level. Yeah.
For them,
Because most of the
for them, I thought like, they take from Narayana at the beginning. See, because there also we have second Chaturvyuha.
yes. So their thing is satisfied. Yeah.
Yes.
So all the Vaikuntha forms are these 24 forms come from Narayana is what they say.
Yeah.
So their thing starts with Narayana. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we have.
But who is Narayana? Narayana means literally one who is lying in the causal ocean, actually. Ayana, who is lying in the water, Nara. Right? So, so they think, Mahavishnu is the, yeah, but he is actually he is part of the material existence. Yeah. So this is
one question, Prabhu. So the Chatur Yuga expansions, four expansions are given. What are the other 5, Prabhu?
So those are Mukunda, so Madhava. There are like 5 forms. I don't have exact names, but each of these Chaturvyuha forms have expanded into 5 forms actually. I don't have it on top of my mind. I can share. I think it's there in Madhyalila, very clearly described, but I don't have it right now.
Okay.
These are also like Vishnu forms. How exactly they manifest? What is their purpose? There is a purpose to everything, just that we don't have those details. Yeah. Maybe if we read thoroughly Madhyalila, we may understand better. But there is a purpose for each. And then from the Purusha, from the second Chaturvyuha, from the Shankarshan comes Mahavishnu. Actually, this is Mahavishnu where the Purusha avatars begin with this, right? And first of them is Karanodaksa Vishnu, and then Garbhodaksa Vishnu, and then Kshirodaksa Vishnu. This everybody accepts in all sampradayas. And also,
I'm not clear. From Sankarshana, you have the Leela avatars coming.
The second Chaturvyuha is there, right?
Okay.
From second Chaturvyuha's Shankarshan, Karanodaksa Vishnu comes. He is an expansion.
Okay.
Shankarshan.
Okay.
And from him comes Garbhodaksa Vishnu. From him comes Kshirodaksa Vishnu. From Kshirodaksa Vishnu, all the avatars come. Like Leela avatars, Guna avatars, Shaktaves avatars, Manvantra avatars within the universe, they all appear from Kshirodaksa Vishnu. So within the universe, there is one Garbhodaksa Vishnu. There is also one unique Kshirodaksa Vishnu. It's not like Kshirodaksa Vishnu is only within the heart. He also is there in Svetadvip, separately. Just like Garbhodaksa Vishnu at the bottom, there is a place where Kshirodaksa Vishnu resides. When Brahma and along with demigods are in trouble, they go to whom?
Kshirodaksha Vishnu. He is in a Kshir Sagar.
Yes, they go to Kshir Sagar. They go to.
It's a planet above the Brahmaloka.
Yeah. So that is above the Brahmaloka. So there is a Vaikuntha within this material world also. There are multiple actually. What is the other one? Dhruvaloka is also.
Dhruvaloka.
So within this, so the Dhruvaloka, when the material world dissolves, the universe after the end of, it will go back to the spiritual world as it is. So now, so. Yeah, they'll also go back to they'll retract their expansion.
While Paramatma forms also,
Mhm.
people go for Brahman realization.
Mhm.
Paramatma realization.
Mm.
Even Paramatma realization is nothing is also, eternal, but at the same time the form changes. Like it doesn't exist in the world.
Yeah, it's a Vishnu within the material world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't exist in the spiritual world, right? So that's why any other path does not lead to the highest perfection. You should worship Bhagavan either in the form of Narayana or Vishnu, Narasimha, doesn't matter. That is, that is a form that is available in Vaikuntha, right? It's not, Paramatma is only within the material world. Paramatma doesn't exist in the spiritual world, right? When you go back to the spiritual world, you won't have Paramatma within you. Yeah.
Prabhu, 400 Narayan form is the expansion from the first quadruple expansion from the Sankarshan to Narayan. Is that the one everybody?
Narayana comes from the first quadruple, yes.
Yes, okay. And he's the in charge of the way, or most of the Vaikuntha Loka in the spiritual planets.
I mean,
How does it work?
Correct, yeah. So all the 24 forms come from that. All the Vaibhav Vilasas come from that. Yeah. All the Chaturvyuha, second Chaturvyuha is originated in that Narayana. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So now, yeah. So there are Leela Avataras which come from time to time, come from the Supreme Lord, and they perform various wonderful pastimes of the Lord. Right? So, and there are unlimited forms. Leela avatars are not limited. Matsya, Kurma, Nisimha, Vamana, Varaha, Ramachandra, Krishna, right? So all these are Leela avatars. These are Swamsa, means partial manifestation of the Lord. They're not the full manifestation of the Supreme Lord. They only show certain potencies of the Supreme Lord. And then Gunavataras. Gunavataras are...
One question. So for each universe, there are different Leela avatars, or is it constant?
Yeah, it depends on the universe, right? Based on the pastimes performed in that particular universe, there will be different avatars. Yeah, because it depends on every universe. It need not be the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Gunavataras, right? Gunavataras are the in charge of the modes of material nature. They're also coming from the Supreme Lord. That's why Lord Shiva is just an expansion of the Supreme Lord. He is not, an opponent or anything. He's just an expansion of the Supreme Lord. As again, a servant Lord. All these are all servant lords. No, he's not Jiva. He's not. He's almost like Supreme Lord. He's the power of Vishnu Tattva, but a slight transformation because he had to mingle with the mode of ignorance, right? He has to deal with that energy, so there is a transformation. So Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Brahma is the in charge of mode of passion, Vishnu Sattva, and Lord Shiva for tamas, right? And then
one common, always refer Brahma, Maheshwara, Shiva is always referred to as Maheshwara.
Yeah, Mahesh means Mahi means material world. So he's the Ishvara of the material world. Yeah, you can say because he's the no. He's the Maheshwara. Mahi is Ishvara. Means
Maheshwara. No,
yeah.
Is like that.
Because he's the linga of the material world. Means the whole creation. Lord doesn't want to involve with the material energy too much, so he needs to send somebody who. So he becomes the Lakshmi's counterpart in the material existence is Durga, Uma, right? So they are the real source of
our material body is coming from.
You can say, yeah, material energy of the, yeah. So they all were, I mean, the exact engineering details we don't know, like Brahma is involved, Durga is involved, Lord Shiva is involved. The details are there. When we read very, scope it down to that specific verses, we'll understand the difference between the response. There are roles and responsibilities, but they're all part of management. They're all C cadre there. CEO, CTO, CFO, CDO. But yeah.
So Prabhu, Gunavatar Vishnu is the same as the Shirodaksha Vishnu, or it's a different?
This Vishnu, yeah, you can say, yeah, Shirodaksha Vishnu. Yes, he's the Vishnu, right? Yeah, because that is the personality. All these, whenever there is any trouble in the material world, they all go to that Vishnu. Yeah. Yeah, and then Shakti-Aves avatars are basically primarily Vibhuti avatars, right? Vibhuti means Lord's potencies were given. Some, Jnana Shakti was given to somebody, like Chatur Kumaras, right? Like that, some empowered jivas to perform certain activities, right? So those are Vibhuti incarnations. And then
Are those Mahajanas, Prabhu? Can we treat Mahajanas as Satyavesha avatars?
no, I don't think Mahajanas are.
Vibhinna.
Yeah, they're all Vibhinnamsha. They're all part of Jiva Tattva, right? I mean, these are also Jiva Tattva. Shakti-Aves avatars are also Jiva Tattva. But Lord designates to show the potency of the Lord in them, right? So Mahabhagavatas, they don't show the potency of the Lord. They are
Right.
show the
Okay.
path of releasing for the Jivas. So, for example, Ananta is given the Budharan Shakti. He can maintain the worlds, right? Sesha performs the personal service to the Lord. Prithu Maharaj is Palana Shakti, means ruling the world. Parshurama, Dushtanashaka Virya, right? Annihilating the miscreants. 4 Kumaras, Jnana Shakti, wisdom. So these are avatars, living entities who are directly empowered by the Supreme Lord. 4 Kumaras, Narada is called Bhakti Shakti. He has the Bhakti Shakti. Brahma, Srishti Shakti, right? So these are Shakti-Aves avatars. And then Vibhuti, reflection of the Lord's might, such as listed in Bhagavad Gita, right? Indra, Varuna, Vayu, Agni, Meru, Brihaspati, Kartikeya, Bhrigu, right? So among the sages, I am Bhrigu, Krishna says, right? He's Vibhuti of the Supreme Lord, right? Lord's might is reflected in them. Indra, he is the king of heavenly planets, all-powerful person, right? So those are Shakti-Aves, they're basically jivas empowered with special powers, right? Vibhuti means just potency. Avatar means little more than that. They're, far more powerful, like Brahma, Narada, they are very, very powerful. Ananta, right? Parashurama. So then Manvantara, there are 14 Manus in each day of Brahma, right? For each age of Manu, there is one avatar. And then finally, Yuga avatar. Yuga avatar is the most frequent avatar. Manvantara is only like 14 times in the day of Brahma. But Yuga avatar, within the 14 days, within the 14, each Manvantara, how many Chatur cycles are there? 70?
72.
Yeah, 72 Chatur Yugas. And each Chatur Yuga has 4. So in each Yuga, again, Lord comes, 72 by 4 in each Manvantara, right? So that many times Lord comes as Yuga avatar, right? And he, for example, he comes in Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali Yuga, right? So the whole purpose of Yuga avatar is to, why is it titled Yuga avatar? For that Yuga, he gives the path of perfection, right? Path of realization. Yeah. So that is, the least denomination. So Lord comes at least once for each age, and then he comes for Manvantara, and he appears to show Shakti-Aves avatar sometimes. So why Lord, there are, if you see this, there are innumerable incarnations. Why Lord has to do all of this? That is showing off Lord's not love, mercy and love. Love for the conditioned Jew. This is all, if you look at the whole purpose of all this is to reclaim the souls.
So, Prabhupada will also come to
Yeah, because he did what no other Acharya did. Right? Even in the Sri Sampradaya, someone like Chinnasya Swami compares him to like Ramanujacharya. Chinnasya Swami comparing one of our Acharya to be equivalent to the best Acharya in their Sampradaya. Yeah. He said like, Just like in 11th century, there was Ramanujacharya and then Madhvacharya. We have Prabhupada who changed the face of the world and gave bhakti even in the Western world. Yeah, he said that. So that is a acknowledgement from a very great, good authority. So this is a slight distraction. Now we can quickly summarize the avatars. So next 21 verses are about the various incarnations of the Supreme Lord. So we'll not read the verse, we'll just read the translation. Yeah, please, each one can read one. So we'll quickly go through these. There are 26 of them. Yeah, 22 of them. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please read.
First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were 4 unmarried sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, who, being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth.
So Brahma's job is to procreate the material world. And so he began with creation and he began with Kumaras. And they said, we want to, celibacy. We want to go for celibacy. So he was a little bit upset with the first children itself. Huh?
They were all 4 Kumaras. How would they marry?
Yeah, no, I mean, they were named Kumaras later on, but the first 4 boys he got were Kumaras.
How would they marry the girl? Where is the girl?
No. I think that will be manifest as well. I mean, at that time, it's not like, there is need for both 2 genders to generate, right? So these are like Brahma cadre, right? So generation is at a different subtle level.
At what point that
from Manvantara onwards, it becomes more like human type.
That's why we are all going.
Yeah. From there, it is more like what we see now, what we can relate to. But before that, it's all very, we cannot conceive the creation before that. Yeah. Yeah. So they underwent, actually, they started, as soon as they're born, they felt like, why are we born in the material world? They want to get liberated right away. They won't want to, because Brahma is full of spiritual energy, right? Like, and he did a lot of meditation, and so he's fully spiritually conscious. The first children born are fully spiritually conscious, so they don't want to participate in creation, right? And yeah, so let's read the second one. So 4 Kumaras. Okay, next. Please read. The supreme enjoyer.
The supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices accepted the incarnation of a boar, the second incarnation, and for the welfare of the earth, he lifted the earth from nether regions of the universe.
Yeah, so then so this is the boar form of the Lord who picked up earth from the bottom of the universe, right? Yeah. The incarnation of the boar was to take the earth out of Pluto's region of filthy matter. Picking up something from a filthy place is done by a boar, and all-powerful personality of Godhead displayed this wonderful wonder to the Asuras who had hidden the earth in such a filthy place. There is nothing impossible for the Supreme Lord, and although he played the part of a boar by the devotee, he is worshipped, staying always in transcendence. Yeah, please read. In the millennium of Rishis.
In the millennium of the Rishis, the personality of Godhead accepted the third empowered incarnation in the form of Devarishi Narada, who is a great sage among the demigods. He collected expositions of the Vedas, which deal with devotional service and which inspire non-fruitive action.
The next is Devarishi Narada. Again, he doesn't participate. Who is a great sage in the creation process. So who is a great sage among the demigods? In his previous life, he was, yeah. So, but that was in a different millennium. It cannot be in this millennium because he is now at the beginning of the creation, right? Yeah, he collected expositions of the Vedas which deal with the devotion service and which inspire non-fruitive action, knowledge pantaratra. So his work is very similar to whose work? He collected bhakti from all the Vedic scriptures. Who did that in our Sampradaya? Nana Shastra.
Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
No,
Shad Goswamis.
that goes on. Yes. They did the same job of collecting all the bhakti aspect of the, because that is hidden gem in all the scriptures. So they put it together so that it becomes easy for anybody to practice, right? Once you have all the knowledge in one place. Yeah, Srila Vyasadeva is also one of his disciples. Narada is the author of Narada Pancharatra, which is the exposition of the Vedas, particularly for the devotional service of the Lord. Narada Pancharatra trains the karmis of the fruitive workers to achieve liberation from the bondage of fruitive work. Okay, next.
In the fourth incarnation, the Lord became Nara and Narayana, the twin sons of the wife of King Dharma. Thus he undertook severe and exemplary penances to control his
In the next incarnation, Lord became Nara and Narayana. They were in which place? They were performing continuously austerities in
Badrikashram.
Yeah. So they always stay there. Nara and Narayana. Nara represents human, Narayana represents the Lord. In fact, Lord Krishna himself says to Arjuna at one point in Mahabharata, says that you are Narayana, I am Narayana. So that he undertook severe and exemplary penances to control the senses. So he is the son of King Dharma, who is the son of Brahma actually. So this is the incarnation here. This incarnation of Narayana is worshipped still at Badri Narayana on the ranges of the Himalayas. Yeah. In fact, Naranarayana is a form of the Lord that is referred in all the scriptures. And he's a very prominent incarnation because many people went and saw that personality, so they could relate to it so well. Narayana. Right now in Kali Yuga, we can't reach to him, but yeah, so they are very prominent.
Is it true that the Naranarayana, in case of Arjuna and Krishna, they refer to Naranarayana? This is obviously my own explanation. In general, every incarnation there is Narayana.
No, I don't know about that, but Lord Krishna himself told that you are Narayana. But every Narayana himself come from Krishna. But Krishna says that you are that Nara. Yeah. Did I understand your question? Or?
Yeah, just like in case of Arjuna and Krishna, so Arjuna represents the Nara, and then Krishna is Narayana. So like that, in case of Rama and the Rama,
but there is no Nara there. Rama Narayana, but there is no Nara there in that incarnation. But in this incarnation, he says that. Oh, really? I don't know. I haven't heard that. Maybe you're getting ideas now. In the fifth incarnation, yes. Read, Prabhu. Read.
The fifth incarnation, named Lord Kapila, is foremost among perfected beings. He gave an exposition of the creative elements and metaphysics to Asuri Brahmana, for in course of time this knowledge had been lost.
So the fifth incarnation is Lord Kapila. We hear this in third canto again. Mother Devahuti, he instructs her on the process of creation and metaphysics. So it seems he spoke something to Asuri Brahmana. I couldn't get more information about this personality, Asuri Brahmana. I checked with Gaurav Darshan Prabhu. He also said he doesn't have any information about this. Yeah.
Is that
Asuri Brahmana.
Asura means like, demonic.
That's what I felt. I mean, that's all like our own understanding. But who is this personality? Prabhupada didn't explain here. Neither Vishnu Chakravarti explained, nor any of our devotees could not find anything, it seems.
Maybe there are Brahmanas even in the Asura.
No, that's another good speculation. Yeah, let's read this next. The sixth incarnation of Purusha was the son of sage Atri. He was born from the womb of Anasuya, who prayed for an incarnation. He spoke on the subject of transcendence to Alarka, Prahalada, and others. So Atri, she actually did a lot of austerities. Says Atri and Anasuya. Anasuya did a lot of austerities. She wanted, a son who is a combination of Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, all the three. So that is Dattatreya, actually. Lord incarnated himself as Dattatreya, son of Rishi Atri and Anasuya, AAD. Yeah, Anasuya and Atri. So it's mentioned in Brahma and Purana. So that the Anasuya, the wife of Rishi, prayed before all the three forms to take the form as her son.
Prabhu, is this Dattatreya is which avatar is this? Manvantara avatar, or is it a Shakti Avesha avatar? Or?
Dattatreya, it's not given in this, is it? I don't know, Prabhuji. You can check that.
Yep, we can check it. Yeah. Because it's prominent in Maharashtra a lot. And there was one question came in and I couldn't answer, but I said it's a function, but
and not displeasing, by worshipping one form.
yes, correct. Yeah.
Not people. But everything is sourced in Krishna, so you can also worship Krishna.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people worship Dattatreya, especially when people think Sai Baba is a Dattatreya incarnation.
Yes.
That way they can, include all the, collaborate with all the three forms.
Yes.
Yeah. Next, please read. Anyone?
The seventh incarnation was Yajna, the son of Prajapati Ruchi and his wife Akuti. He controlled the period during the change of Swayambhu Manu and was assisted by demigod such as his son Yama.
Yeah, so we know he is a Manvantara avatar, Yajna. Chaksha Manvantara is the Manvantara before us, right? So he controlled the period during the change of the Swayambhu Manu and was assisted by demigods such as his son. That time there were no other qualified people to be demigods. So he himself, became Indra, and his son was also ruling, taking one of the important positions. Right. During the period of Swayambhu Manu, the present period is Vaivasvata Manu. So Swayambhu Manu is the first one. So there was no suitable living being who could occupy the post of Indra, the king of Indraloka. So Lord himself at the time became Indra, assisted by his own sons like Yama and other demigods. Lord Yajna ruled the administration of the universal affairs. Yeah. So Devatas are for the period of, how long will each Devata last?
Each Manvantara.
Yeah. So in that Manvantara, the sons of Yajna, Yama, they have ruled. So that is Chakshusha Manvantara. Ours is Vaivasvata Manvantara. Vaivasvata Manvantara, it's called Vaivasvata because Vivaswan. Yeah, Vivaswan was the father of the Manu. Yeah. Yeah, next, please read.
The eighth incarnation was King Rishabha, son of King Nabi, and his wife Meru Devi. In this incarnation, the Lord showed the path of perfection, which is followed by those who have fully controlled their senses and who are honored by all orders of life.
This is Rishabh Dev. We'll read in the 4th canto or 5th canto. So he teaches path of perfection again. So all incarnation, the only purpose is how to deliver us. Right? So they show the same things. Next, please read.
O Brahmana, in the 9th incarnation, the Lord prayed for by sages, accepted the body of King Pruta, who cultivated the land to yield various produce. And for that reason, the earth was beautiful and attractive.
So Prithu Maharaj, we hear about this person. He's a great devotee, right? So, so he has the potency to rule the world. Right? That was a special potency. So at that time, that was really made beautiful. Again, we read this in 4th canto. Yeah, next. Ritu is done.
When there was a complete inundation after the period of the Chakshusa Manu, and the whole world was deep within water, the Lord accepted the form of a fish and protected Vaivasvata Manu, keeping him up on a boat.
Yeah, so that he can begin the Vaivasvata Manvantara, next Manvantara. Chakshusha was the Manvantara before us. Now this is the 7th Manu, right? There are 14 Manus. Now we are in the middle. Yeah. And also, incidentally, this is the 50th year of Brahma. So 100 years. This is the middle. We are in the middle of everything. 50th Manvantara and 50th year of Brahma's day. Brahma's lifetime.
Out of the 311 billion years.
Yes. No. He lives according to his time scale. He lives 100 years.
Sure.
Yeah. And now he is aged 50 years. He is middle-aged man. Or Brahma. Yeah. And at that age, again, yeah.
We are sitting on a fence, Prabhu.
He's on the fence.
So, Prabhu, this is happened at the end of the 6th Manvantara, right?
Yeah, this because ours is 7th one. Yeah. 6 is Chakshusha.
After each Manu, fish will come.
So yeah, that's another good question. So will there be full dissolution at the end of each Manu?
No, it's written here. It's partial devastation.
No, it is actually it is mentioned as full devastation. I mean, it's
Because top 3 lokas are safe, right? Prabhu, means they don't go under.
According to Sripad Sridhar Swami, the original commentary on Bhagavatam, there is not always a devastation after the change of every Manu. And yet, the inundation after a period of Chakshusha Manu took place in order to show some wonders to Satyavrata Manu.
Okay.
But Sri Jiva Goswami has given definite proofs from authoritative scriptures like Markandeya Purana, Harivansh Purana, that there is always a devastation at the end of each and every Manu. So there seems to be a devastation.
I think in the 12th canto, they talk about four kind of destructions.
Yeah. So maybe this will not involve the destruction of the top 4 planets. But there is destruction of the lower planets. We can confirm that. So at the end of the day of Brahma, that is that is a full devastation, because Brahma recreates every single day. And there is description that Anantasesha's mouth would omit fires, and that would, in the fire of devastation, entire universe collapses. So that happens at the end of every day. End of every Manvantara, there is dissolution. So at the end of every day of Brahma, every Manvantara, there is dissolution, there is always a devastation at the end of every Manu. But it may not be full devastation. It may not be like complete recreation for Brahma, because it means that Brahmaji had to recreate everything 14 times a day. That's like more than 8 hours job.
So then fish, every manvantara,
There is a fish incarnation. Yeah, at least this one has. We need to definitely read to see whether that happens. Yeah. But for our Manvantara, yes, that was something that happened before. Yeah, 11th, please read.
The 11th incarnation of the Lord took the form of a tortoise whose shell served as a pivot for the Mandarachala hill, which was being used as a churning rod by the theists and atheists of the universe.
This is the nectar churning pastime. Yeah. This is the tortoise form of the Supreme Lord, Kurma Avatar, yes. Pivot for Mandarachala hill. So Mandarachala hill stays on the top of Kurma Avatar. And that will be rolled down. You can imagine how that pastime happened. Yeah, next, please read.
In the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari, and in the 13th, he allured the atheists by the charming beauty of a woman and gave nectar to the demigods to drink.
At least how many incarnations appeared at the time of churning? One is Kurma Avatar, then Dhanvantari, yes, and then Mohini.
Mohini.
Three. Yeah. The day of incarnations. Maybe we need to read it. Yeah, Lord is everywhere, center, right, left, because they. Yeah, please read this now.
In the 14th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Narasimha and bifurcated the strong body of the atheist Hiranyakashipu with his nails, just as a carpenter pierces cane.
The description, like the nails are protruding the body, wood-like body of Hiranyakashipu. Bifurcated.
Only Prabhupada can write like that.
Yeah. Next.
In the 15th incarnation, the Lord assumed the form of a dwarf, Vamana, and visited the arena of sacrifice arranged by Maharaj Bali. Although at heart he was willing to regain the kingdom of the 3 planetary systems, he simply asked for a donation of 3 steps of land.
Thank you so much. So this is Vamana incarnation, right? Maharaj Bali, we know the story, right? Very nice. Next 16th. Please read.
In the 16th incarnation of the Godhead, the Lord, as Bhragupati, annihilated the administrative class, Kshatriyas, 21 times, being angry with them because of their rebellion against the Brahmanas, the intelligent class.
This is Parashurama. Yeah. Yeah, he's also called Bhragupati. Yeah, who give the direction to the rulers in terms of standard shastras or the books of revealed knowledge. Whenever there is disobedience on the part of Kshatriyas or the administrative class against the orders of the learned and intelligent Brahmanas, the administrators are removed by force from the posts and arrangements is made for better administration. Brahmanas were the real, authority in the olden days. So, any other Bhagavatam story where the king was removed from his position? Anybody remembers? Can you switch on the light?
Vena.
Yeah, King Vena. Yeah, King Vena is another incident where the king was removed from the position. And then who is established after that?
Mata first.
Hmm? Who is the son of King Vena?
Son of King Vena is son Anga. Son.
Something with P.
Prithu Maharaj.
Prithu Maharaj, yeah.
The body of
Prithu Maharaj.
they'll churn. Prithu Maharaj comes from the dead body of Vena.
From the thigh of Vena.
They keep the body. The mother doesn't want to destroy the body. Yeah, it's a very interesting story. Yeah, next, please read.
Thereafter, in the 17th incarnation of Godhead, Sri Vyasadeva appeared in the womb of Satyavati through Parashara Muni, and he divided one Veda into several branches and sub-branches, seeing that the people in general were less intelligent.
Vyasadeva. We celebrate Vyas Pujas because Vyasadeva is the incarnation of Vedic wisdom. So he divided one Veda into several branches and sub-branches so that, summarizing, so that people can relate to things better in the middle world. Next, 18th.
In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Rama. In order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods, he exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist King Ravana, who was on the other side of the sea.
Yes, thank you. This is Lord Rama. He exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist Ravana. So how did he control Indian Ocean?
By placing rocks over it?
Yes, by constructing a bridge to reach to Lanka. Yeah,
Lanka.
And how did he? How was the bridge made? The bridge was made with built by monkeys with floating
rocks written on Brahman.
Prabhupada here explains how Lord can float the universes. What is so difficult for him to float rocks? Yeah. Yeah. Lord Ramachandra prepared a royal road on the Indian Ocean with stones that floated on the water. The modern scientists have done research in the area of weightlessness, but it is not possible to bring in weightlessness anywhere and everywhere. But because weightlessness is the creation of the Lord by which he can make gigantic planets fly and float in the air, he made the stones even within this earth to be weightless and prepared a stone bridge on the sea without any supporting pillar. This is the display of the power of God. Right? So we all are really astonished how the planets are so perfectly orderly moving. It's like floating rocks. Even moon, it's such a wonder. Yeah, next. In the 19th.
In the 19th and 20th incarnation, Lord advented himself as a Lord Balram and Lord Krishna in the family of Vrishni, the Yadu dynasty, and by so doing, he removed the burden of the world.
It's mentioned as an incarnation here. However, later it is clarified as the source of all incarnation. Yeah. From Baladeva, the first flanks of the planetary expansions, Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna expands. Lord Sri Krishna is Vasudeva and Baladeva is Shankarshan. So terms always mix. Don't. Then next, please read.
Then in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, the son of Anjana, in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theist.
See, mother, father, everything is so clearly mentioned. In the beginning of the Kali, Lord, because this Bhagavatam is coming before
2005 years before Buddha. Actually.
Yeah. So it says, will appear. And did it happen? Yes. Scripture is not modified. It is there already. So that's why it says, will appear as Lord Buddha. So far it's all mentioned as appeared, but here will appear. You see? The son of Anjana in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theist. Right? So what is the reason for Lord Buddha's appearance? To stop
Violence
from exploiting animals. Yeah. So what is the principle he taught? Ahimsa, Paramodharma. But it's actually Ahimsa is not Paramodharma.
That was only for that period.
Yeah. That's why it's called temporary, it's called Apad Dharma. Whatever Lord Buddha gave, it's called Apad Dharma. It's not eternal dharma. It's not what do you call?
It's another Vedic principle. It's not Sanatan Dharma.
Not Sanatan Dharma. Yeah, it's Apad Dharma. Just like sometimes, in emergency, you have to do certain things. Even though you're not a doctor, you need to fix certain things like that. Huh? Yeah, it's like a hot fix. Yeah, we know about this. Prabhupada talks about Lord Chaitanya as well. Next, again, another future incarnation is described. Please read. Thereafter,
at the conjunction of two yugas, the Lord of the creation would take his birth as the Kalki incarnation and become the son of Vishnu Yasha. At this time, almost all the rulers of the earth will have degenerated into plunderers.
Thank you so much. So towards the end of Kali Yuga, before the next Satya Yuga begins, Kalki incarnation appears, and he's the son of Vishnu Yasha, the only devotee at the time, the only single devotee at the time, it seems. Yeah, because it's the end of Kali Yuga. At this time, all the rulers have degenerated into plunderers. It means that everybody is like exploiting people. And when Kalki, he just completely kills people. When Kalki goes around in the world, there is a very special aroma comes from his body. And with that, a new atmosphere gets created. And by the end of it, the incarnation, the whole atmosphere is changed in the Satya Yuga.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have a doubt. So Markandeya Rishi is the one who survives all the destruction and goes to next yuga, right? Is that correct?
That was also there, yeah. The Vatapatra, right?
I don't know the other name, Prabhuji.
Vatapatra. He wanted. He sees the form of Vatapatra Sai, Krishna in the Vatapatra, who is licking his thumb.
And so that means Markandeya Rishi would have seen Kalki Avatar, like he's after Kalki Avatar period.
No, that was universal destruction. That was not, change of yuga. So change of yuga cycle is a minor incident. There won't be any, there is destruction of that particular, living entities, change their mentality, but there is no annihilation at this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is no
So yuga to yuga, there is no annihilation.
changes for it. It's like in a 24 hour one is done, hour two. Like it's a minor change in the the larger scheme of things. Because
Okay, okay.
within each month there are like 70 plus cycles, so there won't be big. It's a minor transition.
Okay. I somehow thought it will be reset and then other new one will be started.
So Prabhuji, whoever is living at that time will go automatically into Satyuga?
No, I think there will be. Yeah, actually, it's mentioned that the mentality of the people changes completely.
Oh.
So it may be possible, or maybe some bad people will be killed and good people will be left. But just by just like four Kumaras, when they smell the lotus, the tulsi leaves at the feet of the Lord, their consciousness is changed and they become devotees. So similarly, the bodily aroma of Kalki Avatar changes the mentality of the jivas at the time. So they may transform into people into pure goodness. Yeah, I also need to find if everybody will be killed or only bad people will be killed. Who cannot be changed.
It's a very interesting point, Prabhu. If everybody survives till the end of Kali Yuga, they will definitely go back to Satya Yuga.
Just survive this one period. But to be eligible to live in Satyuga takes some, it's not every living entity is eligible to or qualified. For example, we are born in Kali Yuga for a reason, right? At least they should have some karmic credits to be born in Satyuga. Yeah, it's not automatic. Okay, next, please read.
Oh, yeah, Matri, please read.
Brahmanas, the incarnations of the Lord are innumerable, like rivulets flowing from natures to sources.
Yeah, see, it's like rivulets floating from inexhaustible source of water. It's like ocean, right? In an ocean, if a rivulet goes, what is, it's not a big deal. Yeah, the ocean will not change. So similarly, Supreme Lord is not changed by, Avatara hi asankyeya.
Avatara hi asankheya.
Hare sattva nidher dvija.
Hare sattva nidha
Tata vidashina kulya.
Yata vidashina kulya.
Sashu sahasrasa.
Sarasahashu sahasrasha.
So the incarnations are innumerable, like rivulets in ocean. This is the last verse of the section. Rishayo manavo devo. Manuputra mahaujasa.
Manuputra Mahayusha.
Sarve harer eva.
Sarve Harireva.
Prajapataya smita. All the rishis, Manus, demigods, and descendants of Manu, who are especially powerful, are plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. This also includes the Prajapatis. So all these personalities, rishis, Manus, demigods, and descendants of demigods, who are especially powerful, are plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. Everybody comes from the Lord, especially the first set of living entities. Just like, when you start a company, you have the best people to begin with. So these are such living entities, right? Descendants of Manu. So that's why we read their histories. It's meaningful what they did in the service of the Lord. Yeah. So next week will be how the Supreme Lord is the source of all incarnations. We'll read that. So today we covered the two answers to questions. One is, what are the Purusha avatars? Because they are the source of all the Leela avatars. and Yuga avatars. So, and then we studied all the various Leela avatars of the Supreme Lord. Leela avatars and all types of avatars we did, Manvantara avatars. And we also discussed the various incarnations of the Supreme Lord, right? We started with Sri Krishna, who expands into Prabhava Prakasha, which is his own expansions, form as well as the mood. And then Vaibhava Prakasha, which is mood and color different. And within Vaibhava Prakasha, there is first there is Chaturvyuha form of the Lord, Vilasha forms. The Chaturvyuha, from the Chaturvyuha Shankarshana, there is Narayana. From that Narayana, there is second Chaturvyuha. From again, this Chaturvyuha forms. Each of the Chaturvyuha, which is Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Anuruddha, there are again 5 more expansions from there. And also from Shankarshana comes Purusha Avataras. The Purusha Avataras are 3: Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And from the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, rest of the incarnations come, which is Leela Avataras, Manvantara Avataras, Shaktaves Avataras, Guna Avataras. Oh no, Guna Avataras, I don't think they come from here. No, I think Guna Avataras also come. Yeah, correct. They also come. Yeah. Yuga Avataras. All the incarnations. Now you understand very clearly the sequence of all the incarnations, right? And we discussed Shaktaves Avataras a little bit, right? Yuga Avataras. This is all from Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And also this description is there in Bhagavatam. It's also there in Brahma Samhita. It's there, but Madhya Lila connects everything well. Okay? So, Chaturvyuha is here. Yeah. Prabhava and Vaibhava. Prabhava is the first set, Vaibhava is the second set. Yeah. Prabhava, Vaibhava. Again, this is Vilasha forms. Here there is also Prabhava, Vaibhava. These are Prakasha forms. Prakasha means light, yeah. It's like similar, direct expansions from Krishna are called Prakashas. Yeah. Further expansions are called Vilashas. Yeah. Okay, so I think we'll end here for today. Any questions or comments? Oh, 4:30. I have to leave actually. So we'll end here. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
You all can join in person. Try to join.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Sakhi Priya.
Yes, Mataji. You have
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I will not be able to join till end of December because Krishna Prabhu is going to India next week.
Yes, Mataji.
So I'll join from January Prabhu in person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hari Bol. Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you Prabhu. Hare Krishna.